This park houses the most anticipated ride at Walt Disney World. Behind me is Epcot, which is a park with Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, an incredible looking indoor roller coaster. Will it be worth it? Who knows? We'll have to ride it to be sure. In 2017, I visited Orlando for the last time, and since then a lot has changed. Every park in this theme park capital has invested in new rides and experiences, and after 6.5 years, I'm back to explore them all. Today we're exploring the world, the seas, space and more at Disney's Epcot. And here we are at the last Disney park of our trip here, Epcot, the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. It's a really strange name, but that is because this park originally was going to be a real city, and that is what Walt Disney envisioned. But after his death, plans changed and they decided to build another theme park, but one based on Walt's idea of a futuristic city, thus still naming the park Epcot Center, which just became Epcot somewhere later on throughout the years. Anyway, Epcot has several fun rides, but most of them are situated in the first part of the park, in the area's World Celebration, with rides like Spaceship Earth and a Journey into Imagination, World Nature with rides like Soarin, Living with the Land, or The Seas with Nemo and Friends, and World Discovery with more thrilling rides like Mission Space, Guardians of the Galaxy, Cosmic Rewind or Test Track. Now all these areas used to be one big area called Future World, but they are currently still in the process of modernizing this whole entrance area of the park, making it fit more in recent times because it didn't look like a Future World anymore nowadays. But anyway, the second part of the park is World Showcase, which is kind of a world expo around a huge lake. So several countries have a pavilion there with some rides or shops and restaurants and such, and you're able to make like a world trip in one day actually, which is kind of fun. But if you look at the rides, this part of the park, the World Showcase part, is actually rather disappointing. But anyway, we have a lot to do here in this park, so let's hop on to our first ride of the day. Alright, first ride of the day here is Test Track. Now this ride is quite a unique ride, as it uses a slot car racing ride system that is only used so far in a few rides around the world, such as for example Radiator Springs Racers in California. But this one here was the first one constructed by Dynamic Structures back in 1999. And in this ride you are seated in a car-like vehicle, actually with 6 people going through all kinds of car tests. Now from 1999 till 2012, this ride used to be themed to a realistic version of car testing, but since 2012 some sort of drone-like digitalized overlay was added to make it more like you're in a computer simulation with all kinds of futuristic lighting and such. But recently it was announced they are bringing Test Track back to resemble the original version more again. So it's still nice to be able to ride this version before it's closing down this year. Now I believe Test Track is the fastest ride at Disney World, reaching a speed of 104 kilometers per hour on the outdoor section at the end of the ride, and that is in my opinion the best part of the ride. The rest of the ride is rather, okay-ish from what I can remember, but let's check it out again. right, so that was Test Track, really fun ride still. The ride system is, it's like I said, it's a very unique one, so it's really fun. The only weird thing was the braking at the end was a bit, yeah, in like stop, going, stop, going, stop, going. It was a bit strange, but anyway, the ride itself is very fun. Especially like I said before, the ending, the finale with the yeah, very fast speeds at the end. It's just a really fun ride system. Okay, and after Test Track we're going to do Mission Space. Now Mission Space is a simulator ride, but it's a pretty intense one actually. It spins you around really fast to simulate the G-forces astronauts experience when they are going to space. Now the vehicles themselves where you're seated in are also really unique, as you're basically locked in a very confined cockpit of a spacecraft. So if you have claustrophobia, you better skip this ride. Now the story of the ride is you're actually in the simulator to train for a flight to Mars. And during the ride, everyone has its own tasks, very much similar to Smuggler's Run, for example, although the movie itself is not interactive. But everyone has to push at some buttons at some point to activate things. Now this ride is very notorious for its intensity, so they also have a version of the ride that doesn't spin, so if you're scared or if the spinning is too much, too intense for you, you can also opt for the milder version. But that one has a different movie, so it's not entirely the same. But anyway, let's go to Mars. Alright, so that was Mission Space. It's a very fun simulator ride. It's yeah, pretty intense with the spinning, so you definitely feel the G-forces. But it's the closest you can get to like a feeling on a rocket, I think. It's a really fun experience. Also the fact that you have to do your own tasks and that kind of stuff, and you really feel like in a cockpit of a rocket. It's a really cool experience. So if you are if you're able to experience it, just do it, because it's a really fun one. Now it's time for the most anticipated ride of today and of whole Disney World, actually, in my opinion. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. Now this is the newest roller coaster at Epcot, and actually the first roller coaster in this park. It opened up in 2022 as part of the 50th anniversary of Disney World and is a Vekoma launch coaster. But it's not just it's not just a launch actually, because it launches you backwards, and next to that the ride vehicles are really cool looking also, as they are able to make your vehicles spin around in a controlled way, turning you to the different things you see during the ride, which is why Disney calls this a storytelling coaster. Now, apart from those unique features, it's also the longest indoor roller coaster in the world, and obviously also the longest coaster at Disney World. So you can imagine, with all those facts, I'm really stoked to try this one out. But I'm not going to wait any longer. It's time to ride it. Okay, so Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is such a cool roller coaster. It's the longest indoor coaster in the world, and just the whole ride system is just really cool, with the controlled spinning and the screens you see throughout the ride. The music, I was glad to have September, which is a really fun song, especially on this ride. It's just the best coaster by far here in Walt Disney World. It's a a really great one, and I'm glad I was able to keep the best for last, because the other coasters in Walt Disney World they're fun, but they're not like this at all. This is really the best one. Next up here is Spaceship Earth. Now, Spaceship Earth is an Omnimover style dark ride from 1982 inside of the big golf ball here at the entrance here. Now, in this 15-minute dark ride, you are actually traveling through the history of communication. I remember it's not really a memorable dark ride, but it's interesting to see how much they are able to fit inside this big ball actually here. Now, a new version of this ride was announced by Disney a few years ago, but it seems they quietly abandoned that idea. As to this day, nothing happened yet, and Disney has not communicated about that anymore. But anyway, we're going to ride the one and only Spaceship Earth. Alright, Spaceship Earth, it was, it's a nice ride system. The dark ride itself, it's a bit, it's just about the history of communication, so you have some nice dark ride scenes, but it's nothing too spectacular. It's just a relaxing ride. It's a long dark ride, especially when you are stopping like 5 times during the ride. At one point we had to wait like maybe 10 minutes until the ride started moving again. So that took a bit of time, but anyway, it was a nice ride in my opinion. Okay, and since we had a reservation for some lunch at the complete other side of the park, we took the time to actually explore World Showcase here without riding rides. That's for later. First, let's go have some food. With areas such as Mexico, Norway or Scandinavia, I'm not sure, and China, we already had a taste of the very diverse offering here all around this huge World Showcase lagoon. Oh, and by the way, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments of what country you're from. I would love to know actually. Okay, really, here in the German pavilion, I really recommend the caramel popcorn with Werther's Original. My god, it's so good. And here we are, the Japanese pavilion, where we were about to have some great lunch at Teppan Edo, an Asian-style show cooking restaurant with some delicious food, really. It's a bit expensive, but it was worth to try it out once. And after that amazing lunch, it was time to get back to the beginning of the park actually for some more rides, but not without passing by some more pavilions. Now, can you actually name all the countries we're passing by here? next ride we're off to here is Journey into Imagination with Figment. Journey into Imagination with Figment is another dark ride here at Epcot, using an Omnimover style ride system, I believe. But to be honest, I do not really know anymore what this ride was about. So we better just check it out and talk more about it afterwards. Journey into Imagination with Figment. It's a funny dark ride for kids. You can clearly see it's kind of an old dark ride, but it's a funny ride system actually still. But the ride itself, it's a bit outdated. Maybe it could use some refreshment, but it's a fun ride. It's not bad. Okay, and here inside of the land, we're going to do two rides. We're going to do first Living with the Land, which is a ride here at Epcot, which I don't think I ever did, to be honest. I believe this is a dark ride taking you through the greenhouses of Disney World and such, but there are also some dark ride scenes in this ride. And a fun fact, the opening scene of this ride actually houses animatronics that were originally intended for Western River Expedition, which is a ride at Magic Kingdom that was never constructed in the end, as the budget went mostly to Pirates of the Caribbean instead. And on that plot of land for Western River Expedition, now Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is situated. But anyway, we're not at the Magic Kingdom. We are about to do Living with the Land, if we find the entrance. Okay, Living with the Land, it's a pretty boring boat ride actually. It's a 15-minute boat ride through the greenhouses. You get some information about those plants and all that kind of stuff which they grow here. But it's a rather boring thing actually. I'm glad I did it and I'm not going to do it again. Alright, next up here is Soarin. Now Soarin is a flying simulator from 2005 that was copied from the original one in California. So this was actually the world's second fly-in theater after Soarin over California. Now they used to have the same movie as in California, but in 2016 or 2017 a new movie premiered called Soarin' Around the World, but luckily nowadays they tend to rotate the two movies, and it seems today we're having the original one again, which is Soarin' over California, which is still my favorite one, as I am not a huge fan of the newer version. Because I just love the original one with the music and such. But anyway, let's take a flight on Soarin'. Alright, Soarin' over California. I still love this flying theater actually. It's not the most recent one, it's an older one of course. It's the second one that they have in the world. But I still love the movie. The movie is it's not the best movie, but just the atmosphere in the movie, the views in the movie, the music. I really enjoy this one. It's a nostalgic flying theater. It's a very fun one in my opinion. So the next ride we're doing after Soarin is the Seas with Nemo and Friends. Now the Seas with Nemo and Friends is an Omnimover style dark ride at Epcot here. That is all about ocean life, sea life and that kind of stuff. Now the ride used to be just the living seas, but received a Finding Nemo overlay back in 2006. Now the ride also goes past an aquarium that is among the world's biggest aquariums in the world. I believe it's at the 8th spot or something. But anyway, it's a nice dark ride, just nothing too spectacular, just a relaxing, enjoyable one. So let's do this. Alright, the Seas with Nemo and Friends. It's a cute dark ride. It's very similar to the dark ride portion at Crush's Coaster in Paris. It's a bit similar. It's just a nice dark ride. It's nothing too spectacular. The one thing I do like is the ending with the view on the aquarium with the cool projections of the Nemo characters inside the aquarium. That's a cool thing they did there, but anyway, it's just a very standard dark ride, nothing too spectacular, but it's nice. Right, and after world celebration and all this kind of world discovery and that kind of areas, we're here in World Showcase around the big lagoon here at Epcot. And we're going into the first pavilion here, which is the Mexican pavilion, in which we can find the ride Gran Fiesta Tour. Now Gran Fiesta Tour is a boat ride from Aerodynamics inside of the Mexican pavilion. I don't remember a lot of it anymore, but I believe it was nothing too spectacular, but maybe I'm wrong. Now the ride is starring the three caballeros, some Disney characters, but this is only since 2007, as before this ride used to be El Rio del Tiempo, but that ride was almost practically the same, just with different movie scenes. But anyway, let's get inside and check it out. So that was Gran Fiesta Tour. It's a relaxing boat ride. It's nothing too spectacular. It's just a cute little boat ride, fun for kids, with the addition of the Disney characters. And one of the Disney characters you can actually see behind me here right now. That's funny. Anyway, I can actually see them at some point reteaming this ride to, for example, I think it's Coco, the one with the Mexican thing, that Pixar movie. I can see them reteaming it to that one because it's not a very popular one at this moment, but maybe in the future they will give it another theme to make it more popular, just as they did with Frozen Ever After. But anyway, it's a fun, it's a enjoyable little ride. Right here in the Scandinavian pavilion, we're going to do Frozen Ever After. Now, Frozen Ever After is an indoor boat ride from Intamin that used to be Maelstrom before it was rethemed to the extremely popular Disney movie Frozen back in 2016. It's an improvement for sure compared to the outdated Maelstrom ride, but it's just weird to see Maelstrom didn't have extremely long lines. Well, since adding Frozen, this ride always has one of the longest lines in the park actually. The ride is basically exactly the same. It's just a different theme, but anyway, this ride was so popular, they decided to incorporate it also in the new Frozen lands at Hong Kong Disneyland and Disneyland Paris. Now the one in Paris is still under construction, but the Hong Kong one just opened up recently. And yeah, it's basically the same as this one here, with a slightly improved version. But anyway, let's try out the original Frozen Ever After here. Alright, so Frozen Ever After, we waited 70 minutes for this ride, but that is really not worth it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a big improvement over Maelstrom, and the sets and the animatronics are amazing, but yeah, it's just not worth such a long line actually. But the problem mostly was the fact that the line just didn't move at all because of all the lightning lanes coming in. And yeah, if those wouldn't be there, this line would easily be 30 minutes maximum. But anyway, we waited 70 minutes in a terribly slow moving line and are not going to wait for it again. So fingers crossed the version in Paris coming in 2025 will have shorter lines. And here we are at the French Pavilion, or better said, the backside of the French Pavilion, because here is Ratatouille. Now Ratatouille is a dark ride that uses trackless vehicles while riding through scenes, but mostly 3D screens, and almost no practical sets. So it's a very screen-based ride, which is a bit of a shame. Also, the fact that the ride vehicles don't move a lot is kind of disappointing. Now the ride here is an exact copy of the ride in Paris, and with exact copy I mean literally an exact copy, as they even use the same movies here with the same French dialogue, which is basically just an extremely cheap move from Disney. This is because they want to immerse the people in the French pavilion here, but that's just bullshit of course, because we just didn't want to make the effort nor spend the money to create new versions in full English. Now the only difference with this one here is the queue, which is a little bit different, and the exterior of the ride. As you can see, as the ride here for example does not feature Remy's restaurant, etc. here on the left. Now the line here is pretty long, and it's an exact same copy as the one in Paris, where you never have to wait this long, so we are skipping this one here. But anyway, I can already tell you it's an enjoyable ride with just too much screen base. But on to the next ones. Last ride of the day here will probably be this one again, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. We're doing it again because this is by far the best ride here at Epcot, and maybe even at Walt Disney World. It's a shame you can only do this ride once actually per day via the virtual queue, which you have to get at 7 a.m. or at 1 a.m. if you're lucky. But if you want to do it twice, you can do it the same as us, which is a bit of a shame, but you can pay $15 to pay for an individual lightning lane to be able to ride it again. But if you want to do it, you have to be fast also, because they are all gone before noon actually. But anyway, we didn't want to pay for this ride, but it's so good that we just have to. So we're going to experience this once again, and I'll see you later. Alright, and with the final ride on the amazing Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind and the great nighttime spectacular Luminous with fountains, lasers, fireworks and such, we are ending our day here at Epcot, the final park of Walt Disney World. And to be honest, I did not really enjoy my time in the other parks as much as on my last visits back in 2013 and 2017. But today in Epcot I had a bit of a better day compared to the other parks here. Now this park houses the best rides for sure at Walt Disney World and has some more normal waiting times. Although there are a few exceptions like the awful virtual queue for Cosmic Rewind or the atrocious waiting time at Frozen Ever After. But the rest is rather doable, and rides like for example Mission Space or Test Track are really a lot of fun. But Cosmic Rewind is by far the best. And it's just a shame that after 1.5 years you are still not able to just line up just as you can do in Universal for Hagrid, for example. But anyway, it was the most enjoyable park here at Disney World for sure. Now this was our last park here on this 2-week trip to Orlando. We're flying back home soon. I'm pretty sad about it, but anyway. But the next adventure is already on the horizon actually, to explore some more parks. But more on that later. Have a great day. See ya.